So on the 22nd of February, I was at my surgery. It was lunch break, so there were no patients in the surgery. The earthquake hit. It was total pandemonium in the building with lost the power, all the notes were thrown onto the floor.
The noise and everything that fell off could have fallen off, and we were trapped in the tea room and the bookshelf fell over, and we were hiding under the desk, and I was screaming my head off because I was so terrified. I was so scared.
I think overriding for me is the realisation that my first instinct, it was so instinctive, was just to survive. That dreadful sense of not fully understanding what was happening and needing to get to a place, in our case we were in a meeting, there wasn't room around the table for everyone to get under it, so I tried to take big moon steps to get to the doorway, and then as I was standing there watching across the road buildings crumbling, bricks falling down, and realising the impact of what we're about to have to respond to.
Immediately after the earthquake, with no power, of course, it was pitch dark and we couldn't really do anything. So the staff were worried about their own families, of course. So they did go out into the mall and assisted some people with injuries immediately after the quake. And then our staff went home to look after their own families. We made some contact with a neighbouring practice which is just around the road, and they actually, that practice stayed open all of that afternoon. They were uncertain about the safety of their building, so they actually saw patients mainly in the car park, and the local police and the local surf club were using them as a triage centre and bringing injured people to them.
So we got through into Latimer Square, which was a bit of a trial getting in there, and it was just chaos. By the time I got there, they already had an army sort of triage tent set up. There were people everywhere, there was noise from helicopters, there was smoke, it was hard to breathe, just people everywhere basically. And my husband and children parked the car and stayed, and I went in and sort of offered assistance the best way I could.
I went home and I knew I couldn't get across the bridge, so I had to walk to the house, and when I got to the house it was so much worse than after September, and it wasn't safe to go in, and I didn't want to be there, and my husband was on the other side of town. I'd talked to him, I knew he was okay, so I got on my bike and I biked into town to go to 24-hour surgery because I thought that there could be something I could do, but I just didn't want to be on my own. I wanted to help as well. So I went via one of the shopping malls to make sure, because I'd heard there'd been a big drama there, but by the time I biked around the mall, the Palms, nothing was happening. It was all closed up. So I biked down Belly Ave in Christchurch, which is a double-laned, one of the avenues. And it was like the end of the world. It was like Will Smith's End of World Day. It was just terrible. And people were in their cars and they weren't going anywhere. And I'm not a confident cyclist, and I was cycling between cars they were just sitting there. And there was, I still don't forget it, people's look on their faces, and men running in their suits. Men that wouldn't run, normally looking like they're long distance runners. So I got to 24-hour surgery, and that was great, because suddenly I had a purpose again, and I didn't have a great job, I didn't save lives, I just cleaned up.